Okay. So I do have the recording going, so that is good. Here's our first card. Going to do some Halloween. We'll do 2 Halloweens, a thinking of you and a get well today. This is called the die set that you use to make this is called Give It a Whirl. And you can actually turn this and little different pictures come up. It's just something new and interactive and a little bit of fun. Okay. So the stamp sets you would need. This is the only stamp, and the inside sentiments are the only stamp. And that Happy Halloween, Frightfully Cute, and Less Trick and More Treatin' are from the Frightfully Cute stamp set. Those 3 right there. So you could make this card with this stamp set and the Give It a Whirl dies that are in the catalog. So your kit will have a, oh, I lied to you. There's something else that you would need is the cutest Halloween, cute Halloween designer series paper. That's where I got the ghosties and whatnot. And I used the matching punch, this one, to punch out those images on here. Now you have to cut your paper because when you punch with this punch, it cuts this too at the same time. So you kind of have to cut your paper so that you have the one that you want to cut out positioned under your punch. And if you have to stick a piece of paper on it, but yours are going to all be punched out in your kit. So you can make at least one of these without buying any extras. I think here we go. So we're going to have a piece of Granny Apple Green. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. You're going to have a piece of black that is already die cut with one of the dies from the Give It a Whirl dies. And I also have matched up, because every time you cut this, it's in a little bit different place. I had to cut this and match your paper up with your background. So if you were to do this, you're going to take the die on a like a 1/4 sheet of paper and cut it out, and then it will cut the shape out, which is got stitching around the edges. Yeah, you can see that. See the stitching around the edges. It's around the edges of the viewing window too. And then there's a little hole here for, let me see if I can get the hole better. There it is. You need the hole for a brad to go through. All right. The DSP pieces are from that same thing. So you got a piece of orange and black striped. You got the piece of the haunted house, which is already cut for you. And kind of that's where you're going to start. So the first thing you're going to do is, I have a piece of temporary tape on there. Just fold this back, and then you won't have to worry about whether you get it in the right spot for the hole. Fold it back, make sure it's kind of lined up. You want to make sure you can still see the stitching around the edges, and then glue it down. Now this is going to hang over into what they call the thumb slot. Don't worry about it there right now. And then you'll take this off, this piece of removable tape. Take it off slowly, because it could possibly stick a little better than, there we go. That's off. And then you're going to take this piece of DSP and attach it to the bottom. And you want to put it on there so that it is just inside the stitching, matching up to the top piece on the edge. And they just butt up against each other. They might have a slight overlap, but really not. And then you're going to take your scissors. If you have the dies, you can cut the die, but anyway, you just take this here and cut it right around that thumb slot. Okay, so you're gonna look like that. All right, and then you can set that piece aside for a minute. Then we're going to take the inside piece and we're going to stamp it with the less trick and more treating. And happy Halloween to you. I like to use the Stamparatus when I'm doing more than one, so I have it set up in here, and we're going to use Memento black ink for that. Maybe. I could use a little bit more strength there, so this one's a little wetter. Okay, there we go. So there's your inside done. And then that, when we are positive that it's all dry, we're going to glue that to the inside of the card. Like so. Straight as we can get it. You guys are quiet. Ooh. All right. All right. Now, the next thing is in your kit, you will have one of these scalloped circles of Highland Heather. And when it comes out of the die cutting machine, it has some marks on it that you can just barely see, but I've gone over them with pencil. So can you see where I've marked those wedges? Okay. So that's where you're going to take, I have stickers and then I made for you. I punched out the paper and ran it through my Xyron machine and made stickers for you. So you can just stick them right on the wedge shaped areas. Now you want to make sure you get the whole thing in there. So here's like, let me see if I can. So you want to make sure he sits as much of him inside of that wedge shaped area as you possibly can get it. All right. So there's the jack-o'-lantern, and then the kitty cat face. And now the ghost, he's a little bit different shape. So I think it's a she ghost, though. She's got pink cheeks. Needs to kind of fly a little sideways in order to fit in there all the way. So kind of like that. All right. And then you're going to take the spider from the stamp set, which is in the Frightfully Cute. This one here. And we're going to stamp that in the spaces in between, because I didn't like it that when you rotate it, there was nothing cutesy to see in between. So now I stamped this just so that the spider was above that pinhole, okay? And it can go off the edge, it doesn't matter, it won't show. And when I got a little close to the jack-o'-lantern, but that's okay. And there we go.
That's cute.
All righty. So then the next thing you do is you take this front piece that you put together, and you're going to put the circle behind it and find the holes and match them up. And in your little kit should be a, what did I do with my little kit? It's good, I have another one here. There will be a little brass, now I'll say that 10 times fast. Brass brad. A little brass, I can't do it. Little brass brad, there we go. In your kit in a little Ziploc bag. And then save these all for me and send them back when you send all your other baggies back. Although it wouldn't be critical if this one didn't find its way back to me.
Okay, I have to tell you, I just sat here and tried to say Brad, and I forgot I had dental work. I couldn't even say it once.
Little brass brad. There we go.
There you go.
So we're going to put the brad through and then through the purple circle. And then splay out the brad in the back. Carefully somehow. There we go. Press it down. You don't want it to sit real tight because we do want this to be able to turn. Okay. And then on any exposed black area there, we're going to take and put some dimensionals on that as soon as I can find them in my drawer. There we go. You could use dimensionals or foam tape. Whatever you use back here, use it all the same size, wherever, you know, the same thickness of dimension, so that you aren't making a lopsided image on here. And you put it everywhere you want to on the back except on anything purple. So this is going to be your anchor for the front of the card. All right, that should do it. You may want to cut a tiny little piece and put it over here. It's probably not necessary. But then these all get taken off. And we're going to center this on the front of the card. So the only thing on the front of the card that I don't have ready for you is the sentiment that says frightfully cute and the little spider. So those would be in the stamp set, should you choose to purchase the stamp set. But you will have the little shapes in there that's die cut out of the paper. All right. So now you have this white tag and an orange tag. You're going to take the orange tag and cut it in half, and it doesn't need to be accurately in half. And we're going to take the sentiment that says frightfully cute, and we're going to stamp it on I haven't tried this on this new desk yet. Let's see if I can get it straight. Not bad. And then you are going to just a little bit of Tombow and put it on the ends of each of these. And then put this orange piece right on top so that about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch sticks out. There. The same thing on the other end. And kind of make them look as even as possible. Okay. Alrighty, and then I'm going to take some mini dimensionals since the strip is skinny, and I'm going to put those on the right and left, and I'm going to leave this space where the white is plain. I'm going to leave that on no adhesive there, no dimensionals there, because that's going to go over the top of the brad. And if you put a dimensional there, it'll make a lump in your banner. Get that off. All right, and then we're going to take and put that centered right over the crack where the two pieces of paper meet. And then the last thing that you need to do is I have a two-sided spider web here for you. I liked the lighter side on the front than the darker side. It showed up better, but do it whichever way you like. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back side in this, and you also want to, if you're worried about the mess with the glue, you want to take a little sponge dauber and just sponge the glue onto the back, and then just place that wherever you like. And I think that's the end of card 1.
That's cute.
Nice.
It's not too terrible hard, but you do have to, in order to make more than one of these, you'll want to buy the die cut, the die set, the Give It a Whirl set. This piece could be all cut out by the same die and then trimmed to fit inside of it. And what I did to make this thumb piece a little bit more attractive on mine, I don't know if you can see it here, is I put the piece back in the die, and then it just cut those extra pieces of paper off here, and it still looks stitched on the edge. So it's a little bit neater than trimming it off with scissors, but they both look good. Okay, that's that one. Ooh, ooh, Halloween. Oh, and a thing I found out, just almost by accident really, is you know how when you put these together and maybe you put the inside on upside down? We've never done that, right? All you have to do is
Never.
I just did this when I took apart another card. You just take your heat tool and heat it up just a little bit, and it loosens the glue, and it'll just pull right off all in one shot. So tip for the day, instead of tearing your paper, heat it up a little with the heat gun, and then it comes right off. Had absolutely no problem with that at all. This is the front of the card. And this is just like magical opening here. It opens like that. Okay. And after talking with my good friend yesterday when we had lunch, I had something different on these panels, which would have required more coloring and stamping and stuff. So I took them off and just put this is candy corn. If you want to color the candy corn with your markers, you can do that, but I think it looks really cool.
It's
Just,
very cute.
just how it is.
I
And
like it. It's really striking with the black and white on the sides. Very nice.
thank you. And the paper is in it again in that same little card pack, which is the cute Halloween 6x6 DSP. And its number, if you're taking notes, 156479. And the Give It a Whirl dies, if you want to order those, that's number 154336. Okay. And when you close this, you got to let the tables cross over in the middle first. Otherwise, you'll get kind of this thing. So they need to, you need to close the sides together at the same time. All right. So to make the match card, which I'll kind of put up there just for, so I know what I'm doing. I have a kit made up for you that looks something like this. Come with a very vanilla envelope. Has your card base, which is the standard size, but it's scored in different places. This one is the 5.5 by 8.5, but it's scored at 2 1/8 and 6 3/8, which will leave you with a 4 1/4 measurement between the two folds. All right, so you're gonna, here's the pieces. There's the inside layer, which is 5 1/4 by 4. Here's your two outside panels. Those are 1 7/8 inches by 5 1/4. You need 2 strips of yellow or daffodil delight. It is 1 7/8 inches. No, it's not either. The strips are 1 inch by 5 1/4, and they're scored at 1 inch, 3 1/4, and 4. Okay, so those you need. And then these squares, this is from the layered squares dies, and there's a scalloped one that measures close to 2 1/4, and the small ones are squares I just cut. You could use the die cut that matched it, but I just cut them at 1 7/8 square for the table pieces. And then I already included a moon in there for you because I messed up and, you know, did this. And then you're going to have 3 pieces of fence. See all that? 3 pieces of fence. You have to make sure you poke out all the pokey outy places on the fence. There we go. An owl. These are all dies in the die set, in the Frightful Tags die set. And then a piece of this same crushed curry to go back behind the owl to make his eyes pop out. And then a tag for the sentiment across the center. All right. So the first thing we're going to try to do is we're going to try to lay this so that they are temporarily laid out on here, kind of evenly spaced, so you can see kind of where you need to put your stuff. All right. And every time I touch it, because I'm nervous, my fingers shake and move at the wrong place. So that is kind of what you want to do with that. And then you want to set up your Stamparatus so that your sentiments are going to wind up in those two white empty spots. So let's see if I can pick this up and actually put it in here. Like so. And these, you could put a little bit of removable tape on here to hold them in place. That would be a good thing. Get it all the way up in the corner, so. And you could also stamp by eye if you're good at it. I'm not so good at it, so I set it up in here, and then when my stamps come down, they're going to stamp in those two empty spots. So now that I have my Stamparatus set up, I can remove these things and just stamp my sentiments, which are Which Way to the Candy and You're So Sweet, It's Scary. That's also in that same Frightfully Cute stamp set. Stamp them both at the same time. Okay. That one didn't get enough ink on it. Try that. Yeah, black on my finger. Come on here. There we go. Alrighty, so that's all we need with that particular Stamparatus. And then that gets attached to the center of your card base. All right. And then you're going to put on the side panels, which, like I said, if you want to go through each one of those and color the candy corn, that's fine. You can also decide to put the polka dot side up if you want. I liked the black and white better. Whatever you like.
I love polka dots.
I know you do. Minnie
They're
Mouse.
just always
polka dot?
cheerful.
Yes, they are. All right. Okay, so that's pretty much the inside so far. And you're going to take those little squares I was talking about. And that's for the front of the card. You're going to stamp in Smoky Slate a moon on one of the inside pieces, because this is what we got going on here with this witch. Let's see. So we're going to stamp a moon. Maybe it needs to be gray granite. I'm not sure. We'll see if this is dark enough. Yep, that works fine. And then in the tuxedo black with the witch, we just stamp her right over the top of the moon to make it look like she's flying in the air. And just kind of like so. And if she doesn't come out dark enough, you take your black marker, fill her in like so. Okay. Either that or you set this up in your Stamparatus so that you can stamp again right on top of each other, but the black marker works pretty well. All right, oop, I'm going to leave it go at that because my hands are too shaky to do it any other way right now. And then on the other yellow piece, we're going to, there's the potion, little potion bottles right here, the potion bottles. And then I put a bat with it, kind of like so. And I put the bat on the other side this time, but it doesn't matter. So we're going to mount these guys onto their layered squares. These just get centered into their black frame. So, all righty. Then the next step is we're going to take these strips. We're going to fold them on their little score lines, and you'll see that they're shaped like this, kind of like a box with a piece missing. This single piece here is what's going to attach to the panel. Whether it's on this side, it would go with that, with this short piece, against the panel, like this. Okay, so what we're gonna end up doing after we space these properly, this will get glued down this way. And then this one will get glued here and tucked under. All right, so I will show you how we do that. There's a wide space on here. This is where your picture goes. You need to put the one on the lower part. You need to put the wide section next to the single square. And this will all be spelled out in your directions, but you'll know what I'm talking about when I say single square, or this is the double square end. Okay, so you're going to put some adhesive or Tombow right on this wide part, and you're going to attach this piece right in the middle, as straight and as in the middle as you can get it. You might want to use Tombow if your glue is not sticking. I try to make it glue there. And I didn't want to use Tombow because I don't want to take it apart. But then you're going to kind of lay this out to see where that's going to fall. And you're going to fold this single one under and put a little glue on it. Oh my gosh. On the side that's folded under, so that when you open it, it's going to be on the top side. See, so it's sticky here, not sticky on the back. So then you're going to turn this like so over. And you're going to place that hinge and this edge of the cardstock right on that scored portion and attach it down there. And you're going to want to watch this measurement here between the bottom so that it's kind of straight and equal to the one you do on the top. Okay, so that's where that piece will fall. And then on this last one, you have the double square. So on the last one of those squares, put some adhesive. Leave it folded out like that. Not, I mean, just only one end under. So it's going to look like this when you stick it down. And then place it so that this is nice and straight. And this is nice and straight, and then put it down like so. So that's how that's going to open up. Okay. And then it will close all the way flat as well, as long as you didn't put, and I did a little. You need to make, it's hard to see down here where the score line is on the black. You need to make sure that that first one doesn't go over the fold. Then on the top one, you still need to remember that the single square is the one that's going to go next to the panel. And the double one's going to wind up in the middle of the card. Okay, so on the single square, well, first we got to put our picture on there. And it's centered. And you want to make sure your pictures are right side up when you're doing it. Otherwise, you could take your heat tool out and heat it up and take it off.
Right.
All right. So then this is the portion that needs the glue right on the top side of it, right here. I've got all kinds of parts and pieces going all over here. And then you'll want to kind of lay that out as to where it's going to go, and then fold that under and try to put that square so that it's the same distance from the top up here as it was down here on the bottom. And make sure that this yellow piece of paper is not on the fold, but right next to it. And then press it down. Okay, so then you have that side of it. And then you're going to put your glue on the top of this piece. And then fold it under and just press it down. And you'll have your inside. Okay, and that's called a floating table card. If you ever want to Google it or whatever, called a floating table card.
I think it's magic.
I think so. When you're using your adhesive, make sure you don't go over too far, because like I did, and now it's wanting to stick to the inside of the card. Like Tombow a liquid glue might be a better choice, but you can use your rubber eraser and get the excess glue off. Okay, now it should open and close. Okay. All right, and then on this next portion, I am going to use Tombow. Then you'll have these 3 fence pieces. All right. This is a die that comes in the Frightful Tags die set. You're going to put some liquid glue on one of the fence posts. That's the taller fence post. And you're going to overlap this piece right on top of it. So what we're actually doing is making the fence look like it's not in pieces, that it's together. All right. And then the same with the third piece. And you decide whether you want to use the light side of the fence or the dark side. On the black, I think the light paper holds up a little better. Pops out a little easier as far as view goes. All right, and then you're going to look for the center of that by folding it in half. Let's see if I can find my scissors now. Should have had my snips ready. There they are. I did, but I just didn't know where they are. So take the last 2 fence posts and fold them together. But make sure these 2 are together as well. And then you'll see the fold here. And you're just going to snip this off as straight as you can between those 2 fence posts. right in half. And that'll give you your 2 halves of your gate here. All right.
Hmm.
So you just take your moon and you put a little glue on there and place it where you like it. I like the low moon in the autumn. There is a die in the set that cuts this, will cut the moon out, but it leaves a little bit bigger border than your circle punch. So this is a 1 3/8 circle punch, works perfect for getting a little bit closer edge around the moon than the other. Then I have die cut you out a tree. That's also in the same stamp set or die kit set. Decide which side of the tree you want. I want this one because it's a little lighter and it's going to show up a little better. And you either glue this down with Tombow or get out your sponge dauber and sponge the back of it a little. Tombow has got a latex in it so that it will, any excess glue is removable with a eraser, a rubber eraser. So I'm going to put this about 1 inch up from the bottom. Just stick it there. And then I'm going to put my left half of the fence post on there. And I'm only going to glue on the straights, not the up and downs, except for the large ones. So the large up and downs and the short and the ones that go horizontal.
The other ones are so little.
Yeah, it would be a gluey mess if you tried anything more than that, I think. Whoops. I'm already making a gluey mess. So now you want to start by putting this right up to the edge of the card, right up to the opening here. And you still want the tree to go underneath it. So I put the bottom of the tree right equal with this bottom fence rail. Okay, and then just when you use Tombow, you can move it around a little, make sure it's in the right place for you. Okay, press it down. And then on the other side, we're going to take the owl. And I'm going to make a little triangle with this owl color here. And then if you put this behind, you really don't have to cut much. I'm going to make it on that little triangle a little bit smaller. You have to play around with it. And if you get it right, then you don't have to cut anything excess off of the owl. But if you don't get it right, then you don't get his eyes covered. So then you're going to try again. Okay, so we're going to put some glue back here where his eyes and his beak are and stick this booger right on there. And if I have to cut any off, I will do so. There we go. So I'm just cutting this little bitty bit up here. All right, so he's ready to go for when you put this other side of the fence on. Do the uprights again and the horizontals. The large uprights and the horizontals. You don't need to do. And on this last side, I've left the top horizontal unglued because I'm going to tuck that owl underneath it. So we're going to match up our gate here so that it looks closed when it's closed, when the card's closed. All right. You may want to go with a little pin, head of a pin and put some dots of glue right under those little fence tops, the pickets of the fence, just to make sure that they don't pull up on you. And then my owl is going to have a little I'm going to put him on there so that his wing, at least one of them, sticks out over the top of the fence. So he actually looks like he has a little dimension. All right. Then the rest is your little thing of stars. And I just put dots of glue all over and put the, took the take a pick tool. And glued them down in there, or you could use tweezers. And I'm not going to put them on there, but what you could do if you're not wild about gluing all those little stars on there, you can take your white ink and take the tip of a Q-tip and stick it in there and go around with that, because it'll look like it's kind of hazy kind of star point. You can take a silver glitter glue pen and make some asterisks all over the top of it. I preferred the way that it looked with the stars on it, so I took the time to actually glue each individual star on there. And all I did was took a tiny itty bitty little dot of glue and set it on there, and then put the star on top of the glue. So that was it. So not too terribly hard. The last thing you have is this thing. The Happy Halloween to you. And I have that mounted up in this one here. I'm going to take it off of there and stamp it. Just regular. It's easier for me. All right. And this is actually, you know, this is a not necessary thing, just a additional little cutesy thing to do, not necessary, but I like the idea of it. And I'm going to stamp it in the center of that, like so. And then we would take and put a little, now it may need to go under those a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take a little Tombow, just a tiny bit across the back of there. You could also put your adhesive on there. And then my glue is not drying, or my ink is not drying down here today. So I've got some. All right, so that's how that's going to fit. And that's it.
That's cute.
Yes.
Alrighty, any questions?
Mm-mm.
All
Not
right.
sure you're
It's
doing it.
interesting when you learn how to do some of these things where pieces move and stuff. It's not all that complicated
No,
a lot of times.
no. And if you watch if you watch this video a couple times on how to place them, or Dawn Griffith does a real nice job on doing floating table card. She does a real nice job of it as well. So you can watch some of her videos. She does it so fast. I haven't got a clue of how she does it that fast. Okay, so our next card is a fall-ish kind of card. It's a thinking of you. And the card was inspired by Debbie Chronister. I like a lot of the things that she does. This uses the Quiet Meadow bundle, the dies and the stamp set. And the stamp set looks like this. Okay. So what
Mhm.
we're going to be stamping in the background is this flower, this kind of filler kind of words, some of these flowers right here, and this what I call noise stamp. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. And then there's also this, thinking of you is also this on the label. And then these pieces are cut out with the matching dies, the meadow dies, in pale papaya, soft succulent, and gray granite. Okay. So, and I put this like this on the inside. Since it's a thinking of you, I left it as a note card, but I wanted to dress up the inside a little bit. So I used a piece of this designer series paper, which was from the Bloom Where You're Planted DSP. Has got a nice background piece. But let me show you what we're doing on this one. Okay. So the back of this, here's the Tasteful Textiles DSP, and you can tell it is because it has this on the back side of it. This is the piece I use. It kind of looks like somebody did a plastering job. And then this is the Bloom Where You're Planted DSP, which also looks nice behind. So either one of those two, or if you want to take a piece of white yourself and just take a sponge and kind of some gray granite on some white, you're probably going to have just as nice of a background as this is. I said I wasn't going to say, it's so hard. There's two pieces of 5 1/4 by 4 white, one gray granite card base, and you'll have one piece of DSP and a DSP strip for the inside of the card, which I might not have here on my sample kit, and a label and a bow. And your bow will be one of two things. It'll be soft succulent or pale papaya. I didn't have enough of one specific color to use, so I opted to use any other matching color here. Since this strip matches this, we'll do it this way. So there's your pieces. And then you will have I think this looks like parsley. So you will have a parsley piece, only it's gray, and it's made into a sticker for you. So this is a peel off the back and stick down. Likewise with your pale papaya. And
You like that color.
Soft succulent. Okay, they're all made into stickers. And then there's a tiny little piece in there that is the flower center of the daisy here, or whatever, this kind of cornflower. There's a center, and then we're going to color that a different color. All right, but there's a little center for that flower. Okay. So let's start with the background. I'm going to take my Quiet Meadow stamp set, and we're going to take these kind of words And we want they do have some words that are readable. Some of them are not. So kind of make sure you have them going up right. And I'm going to take some smoky slate and maybe I'm going to do the flower first. I'm doing the flower first. We're using this flower. And we're going to stamp that like, now you'll have to watch if your smoky slate is too aggressively dark, you'll want to stamp off with it. This one needs re-inking, so I know it's not needing any stamping off. And it's got a halo going there. So we're going to put these on the card kind of like so. They don't show up very much, but they do lend some background noise. And this one maybe down here like so. All right. They're on there. And that's all we do with that one. And then we're going to take this words, making the words go right side up. We're going to stamp kind of over here and here. And this is pretty much random. Everybody likes random, right? Except
No.
Ellen doesn't like random. And then we're going to take the flower. And just stamp a couple of those here and here and maybe over there. So you're just putting some interest in the background. It's not really anything critical. And the last thing I used was this filler. If there's any room left, put any filling kind of over here, kind of in between the words there, a little bit over here. You could also do this by splattering it with a brush if you wanted to. Okay, so that's all that's done in the background, and you can put as much or as little in the background as you like. The next thing we do is we took our blending brush. This is a new tool, and I have found that it is so much better than a sponge dauber. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know how when you sponge stuff, you get that little target circle? You don't get very many target circles with this. And I'm going to show you. We're just going to add little bits of color. I don't know if you can see on here where there's, let me see if, no, the color is not really coming out too much on there, but hopefully it'll show up when I start doing it. So we're taking some pale papaya. No, this is soft succulent. And you can press pretty hard and it still doesn't, you see how I didn't get a blob? I got one little blob here, but after you do that much, you don't get any more little blobs. So we're just kind of giving it a blush of color. All right. And I ordered a bunch of these so that I can have one for every color of my ink pads. I like them so much more than daubers. These are called blending brushes and they're number 153611.
I love them.
I do too. Let's put a little bit of pale papaya on here just for a hint of color. Is any of that color coming through on the screen?
Yeah,
All right. On my end, it doesn't look like much. Okay, so that's that. That's all we did there. And then I am going to take a sponge dauber and flick around the edges and not smoky slate. I want gray granite. If I can find it, there it is. Gray granite matches the paper, so this is going to do some of that kind of tying in for you. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. So we're going to what I call flicking. The blending brushes do not work so well for this particular task. So I would still keep a dauber or two around just for this kind of purpose. Alrighty, there's our background. Then on your little label here, I'm going to get the thinking of you stamp. And you could also make this get well. You could make this happy birthday. Almost anything you want. I'm going to take that gray granite as well and stamp the thinking of you right onto this little label. There you are. All right, so then we also want to find that little strip of paper that I was going to use on the bottom of the card. This one here, and we want to flick around the edge of it as well to make it stand out. Can you all hear me okay? Am I close?
you're fine.
Okay, close enough to the microphone and stuff? Now would not be a good time to find out that you can't hear me. After we're into card 3 here. All right. All right. So that one's got some color on it. That gets centered on this piece. I'm using Tombow because it's faster. I think that's why most of the ladies use Tombow on videos. Go. All right. Okay, so we're going to put my card front over here, or my card base. I'm going to put the inside piece in. And then I'm going to put the strip in. I put the strip about 3/8 of an inch to a 1/2 inch off the bottom. And it goes edge to edge of the white piece.
Oh, how nice.
Pardon? Somebody say something? All right, and then we can mount the white layer of the front card piece down first. Then our colored piece. And make sure you put this so the words are right side up. Alrighty, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sponge color on these pieces here in their matching colors. So gray granite on the gray granite, which somewhere I had that cover and I set it down somewhere. And this one, you're kind of, because they're delicate, you're going to kind of have to do this while they're down on your desktop. And you're just trying to carry some of the colors into the project for aesthetics. It's not, and make them stand up a little bit more. Then this one is going to get pale papaya. And you know, this is fast and furious, guys. It doesn't need to be, you know, you're just adding a little splash of color. You're not recreating the wheel there. And then the last one is soft succulents. A little dark there. My succulent was juicy. All right. Okay. So here they are. Oh, I just put my fingers in the wrong end to pull the ink closed. That was fun. Stuck my fingers right into the ink pad. All right, so then the first one that got put down on here was the soft succulent one. Now this has got a sticker on the back. If you think it doesn't stick well enough for you when you get it on there, and well, if I can get it off of there, that would be a good thing too. You got to get it started. Probably a pin is the best way to get it started. I'll try to use these. There we go. This is a suture removing pair of tweezers. Oh. And it goes over here like so. And that beats glue, I'll tell you. Okay. So this one goes here like so. You want to make sure you're getting a gathering of stems down here on the bottom. And the last one goes over the top. There we go. Now it's stuck to my finger. Still say this one looks like parsley. Or maybe celery leaves. Okay, kind of like so. And then somewhere around here is this little centerpiece. And I'm going to color this, the color over the top of this pale papaya with some granny apple green, so that it's going to look like yellow green, sort of like the center of a, more like the center of a daisy, I think. I don't know. You can color it whatever color you like. If I can get the backing off of that one, that would be really good. And that gets stuck right like so.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And then you're going to put your dimensionals on top of your label here. And again, we're going to put them on the ends, not in the middle, because your stems are going to take care of the difference in the height. That on there, sort of straight. There is a gem in your bag with your bow. You can opt out if
Yeah,
you
that'll
like.
end up on the kitchen floor.
Yeah, you can opt out if you like. I'm pretty much all about the glitz. And I'm going to put that right over here on the side of the label.
I think it's great to have a friend who would come over and decorate your floor.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about decorating there. Boing, boing.
Yep.
And then a glue
Still
dot
haven't
for the
found those.
bow. And the bow on the corner, you can trim off tails if you like. I kind of like this. So here's one with pale papaya bow and one with a soft succulent bow. Either way, it looks good. Oh my goodness, there we go.
Very pretty.
All right. Now there we are on that card. The last card it's kind of in the same similar kind of ambiance, but it uses a different stamp and die set. This uses the Nature's Harvest stamps and dies, and the background here is done with the time-worn text 3D embossing folder. So, and that will come embossed for you. You won't need to do that yourself. Let's see if I can find. All right, so on this one, we're going to have Misty Moonlight and card base. It's going to be a top fold card instead of a side fold, just because I like to change it up a little bit sometimes. So it's going to open this way, and then here's the inside of the card. And this the stamp set has the sentiment: sending healing thoughts, may nature's beauty bring peace to your soul. I just thought that was so pretty, and then I made it get well on the front. But again, that can be changed up to whatever you like. Here's your kit: card base, embossed layer, an inside layer, and then your pieces for the front. You're going to have something that looks like this. This is going to be the cornflower or coneflower cutout. And that's what I wanted to show you, is how we're going to do that in the Misty, so that you can get yours stamped without me having to stamp it for you. I'm not allowed to do that, so I mounted my Misty up in here. My stencil from this. I did the die cutting on this first. And I have it taped together with some removable tape for you. So you're wanting to take that out of there, that piece. And you're going to put it over your, now, let's pretend this, let me turn that over so we can do it the way that you would be doing it. Piece of tape off of it. All right, so you're going to put your stencil in here, get it down into the corner so that if you wanted to make more than one card, you can just put your piece in. Then you're going to take your stamp and line it up so that it fits inside that stencil. All right, then you're going to pick it up with your Misty. Then you're going to place your stencil, your real stencil, back into the, or your image piece back into its stencil. And you'll ink up your stamp with soft suede. You could use black too. I think one of the cards, one of the samples I have done in soft suede and one of them I have done in black. And then you stamp right on there. And hopefully, if you did it right, your piece, it came out. Your piece will be stamped for you. See? So that's how you get it lined up. And should your things come apart, you just fit that back inside of there like that when you go to stamp it. All right. So that's how that works. And then while you have your Misty out, you can stamp the inside of your card. Yeah, this particular one is the Misty. The other one I used was Stampin' Up Stamparatus. There's advantages to the Stamparatus over the Misty and vice versa. I used them both because I had purchased Misty long before Stampin' Up even came out with a stamp positioning tool. So I may use their names interchangeably. So that's that inside piece. And then when I stamped this other inside flower, I took the card and put this corner. Oops, you can't see. Let me see. That's one thing about this. I put this corner at about the 1 1/4 inch mark. And this one was going to fall at the 5 1/4 inch mark. And that's just where I put them to give you an idea of how this angle should work. So once you have this in your stamping tool or on your block, you don't need to change it around. You just need to move your paper. That's the inside of the card done. Outside of the card, we are going to take the embossed Time Worn 3D embossing folder, embossed. And I took and marked this one soft suede so I wouldn't get brown in any of my other colors. And like I said, I'm working on getting one for each color of ink. And I don't know what I plan to put them in to hold them all, but That's what I plan on doing. And you just kind of are wanting to color up the raised sections on this a little bit. I'm in a hurry, so I did get some blobs there because I forgot to go off. Anyway, that's what that's supposed to look like. And it gets mounted on the card base. I'm going to also take, and I think I'm going to sponge some soft suede around the edges, but I'm going to use this brush to do it. I'm going to get it. You see how it doesn't quite work as well as a sponge dauber on the edge kind of thing, but it's supposed to look like old paper. So that's what I'm going to try to make it look like. You can do that as dark or as light as you want. And I think that looks pretty old. Ugh, grungy. All right, and then back at gluing the front down. And this is just getting a tiny little border on this one. So a little 1/16 inch border all the way around. And the inside gets a 1/4 inch border or an 1/8 inch border all the way around. All right, so then you're going to color this. And I use Stampin' Blend. There's their new marker. And I used Calypso Coral, So Saffron, and light and dark old olive. Light and dark of both, but mostly the light old olive. So you start with the darkest color. And that would be the cone on the cone flower. And this cone over here. And then you're going to move on to the dark part of the yellow. This is So Saffron, dark. And I put that close to the, you should go out into the flower a little bit on that, but you're going to do the rest of it with light saffron. And these blends, they definitely blend together really nicely. So it helps with shading. And see that place where I went off the line? That's where you get out your color lifter. And it actually pushes this color back into where it came from and makes this mistake look a lot less obvious. See there how it lifted some of that color out of there? You don't want to get it too wet. You might want to let it dry in between, but I think I fixed that up a little bit. And let's see where we at here. You can also color this flower before you cut it out. You could stamp it, and then, you know, if you're doing this on your own, after you do the one that comes in the kit, if you want to do it, the best way is to stamp it first and then die cut it out. But since I can't stamp it for you, I have to send you the die cut without the stamps. And then this is going to be old olive for the stems and leaves. some light old olive over here. And you just kind of play with it and shade it a little to your liking. I'm going to try to go kind of quick here. But going quick is what gets it out of the line. You take your darker one and you make the veins on the leaves and your dark sections. Darken there and kind of try to blend them together. All right, that's a real quick turn of events on that one. And then on your, what are we going to call these? They look like wheat to me. So you'll get a piece that looks like that. And you can do one of two things. Your kit's going to come with tops in Misty Moonlight that are a sticker that you can just tear off, trim off to the bottom of the thing, and then stick onto your leaves. Or you can take a Misty Moonlight marker, and that's what I'm going to show you here, and you can just color them. Now this makes them look more brownish than bluish, so I didn't do it that way. I actually used the paper because it matches the card base better. So I just snip them off here. Well, first off, I'm going to take the the backing off so that it's easier. I snipped it off here and just stuck that right on this piece here over the top. And I did the same with the next one. And the last one was over here. Kind of got on its own. All right. Now there's no glue on the back of here, so unfortunately you're going to have to play the glue game here. But these are pretty straight, so if you're just try not to be too heavy-handed with the glue. That's all. I mean, Tombow goes a long way. You only need a couple dots to hold it down anyway. Where's my sample card so I can see what I'm doing now? Okay. So this is going to kind of go off here, and I'm going to kind of try to put the stems together a little bit on here. There we go. You could separate those out a little more or whatever. And then on this one, now this one I'm going to take that soft suede and I'm going to distress the color a little bit so that it matches up with the background of the card a little. And you can do that or leave it. That's optional. Glue there and there and there, and the big spaces on this one. This one's not hard to glue up at all. Over the top. The top of that card. The last pieces you have in your kit are a label and these two pieces of, this is again the Tasteful Textures DSP. So you have a difference. The other ones went the other way. I put the angle wrong on these, so well, not necessarily wrong, but the opposite direction than it was intended. So I'm just going to glue these two things together staggered. And then I'm going to stamp Get Well. Oh, that stuck to my finger. Get Well with soft suede. And this Get Well is from the Well Said stamp set. Or well, is it well worded? Let me look. It's well said. Well said. It's in the second 2 of 2. So Get Well, which is pretty crooked, Robin. Let's see if we can do a little better this time. A little better, not much, but we're going to leave it go. And I'm going to distress this as well with a little bit of dark soft suede coloring. Doesn't need a lot. Just, I think the white, the very vanilla is just a little bit too stark for matching up. I'm going to Tombow glue that right to these 2 pieces of labels that I have made here. Try to get it as straight as possible. Sometimes you can make the the words look straighter by crookeding the label just a hair. And then this is going to get topped up with dimensionals over the stems, being careful not to bunch up too much in the middle. You could also put a piece of twine with a bow or leave it plain. I thought the bow would make it immediately into a card for a woman, whereas without the bow, it would be multi-gendered.
Mhm.
All right. And the inside is done. Ta-da!
Nice.
That's all 4 of them, ladies.